The octopus. Our dear world, which is turning around silently somewhere in the universe, which is full of mysteries, secrets and a lot of unknown. The living creatures, which you have allowed to live on you, survive and take shelter for 10,000s of years, existing maybe only on you with everything of them. The idealists with their genuine talent of thought, with their power of imagination, who are possible to appear always and everywhere with their stubbornness and by leaving the normality of the life, which they have to live with pleasure, desire, and by getting a little over the normality to know an unknown, to help the solutions of problems and assimilating some kinds of efforts, searches for the benefit of the normalities who they left behind. Although a young octopus traveled a lot of places on the blue sea, the things he saw weren't strange to him. He was indifferent to the things he saw as if he had seen them before, and the motivating passion occurring in his thought, made him decide to reach the source, the spring of the river when he first realized it, which was flowing into the sea. The young octopus started to move forward slowly. He could always have the chance to watch closely the trees, the grass, the flowers, the birds and the large and small living creatures by the river because he was taking pains to swim on the surface. As the days passed one after the other, the broadness of the river started to become narrow, the water started to flow a little more wildly and the slope started to increase. Since the young octopus was swimming towards the stream, he realized that he started to be some more compelled every passing day. If he didn't suffer the difficulty and leave himself, he would be able to return to the sea. However, this was a matter that he wouldn't be able to do. Now that he was an idealist and he had come till here for the sake of an idea, returning back could never be possible. When the young octopus arrived at the side of the snowy mountain, which was difficult to see from far away, a waterfall, whose water was falling from quite high, appeared. He had to cross this waterfall and go on his way, but how? A few attempts he made shows that it was impossible for now. Anyway, he was tired. He had come till here without stopping, and by exerting himself to the utmost for days. He thought I should relax for a while, gain my energy. When I believe that I can cross this waterfall, I will come and cross it and go on my way. I will take one of the paths I saw yesterday while I was coming. I will look for a place where I will be able to pass my days in peace. Let the waterfall wait for now. The young octopus returned back and took one of the paths. He reached a lake in the end by saying this or that way. The young octopus life in the lake lasted quite long. Actually, time wasn't very important for an idealist. Let the time pass. What was important was to be able to use the time skillfully. You would always improve and show progress in point of thought. You already had this idealism from birth. The conditions would force you to this whether you wanted or didn't. When you started to support an idea, namely when you became an idealist, you would think carefully of your past and you would realize and be surprised at even how the unhappy, pessimistic, desperate days, which you don't want to remember now, had educated you, and had made you experienced. Several years passed and the young octopus had grown up and had become a mature octopus by the passing years. He always had good relationships with the living creatures in and around the lake. He had had quite a lot of accumulation of knowledge by adding his observations on the things they told. Everything was very well. Perhaps it would be much better if the people hadn't pitched a camp near the lake. As soon as the octopus saw the people, he had listened to his common sense saying be careful. He had withdrawn to his cave at the bottom of the lake. He was passing his days in his cave. He was sometimes touring at the depth of the lake. On some days he saw a few boats on the lake, but he couldn't do anything more than watching the peoples in the boats rowing from the depth of the lake while swimming. One day, while a boat was going near to the middle of the lake, it suddenly got dark. A heavy rain started. The wind blowing gradually harder was building big waves on the lake. The efforts of the people on the boat who were trying to escape from the storm were useless. They weren't able to prevent their boat from capsizing and sinking. The octopus had felt the storm in advance. He had taken the risk to be seen by the people on the boat and he had come a few meters close to the boat. He had covered two people, who were flopping about when the boat sank, with his strong arms, had come to the surface to prevent them drowning and started to swim quickly towards the shore. After leaving the unconscious people to a safe place, the octopus withdrew to his cave in the depth of the lake. On the following 10 days after this event, the octopus, who couldn't see any boats on the surface of the lake, came to the surface because he thought that the people might have gone and he looked at the shore, where the camp was, from far away. The first thing that called his attention was the huge, iron boats. The people had also built wooden sheds near the tents, where the camp was pitched. There were lots of people on the shore. He started to swim towards the branch, which let the superfluous water of the lake float into the river. He was planning to come out of the lake going without making the people realize. However, when he reached the exit, he realized with sadness that there were barbed wires around, which were preventing him going. He was afraid of making a mistake. He could pull the wires to pieces, throw away and go on his way. There were the possibilities of getting injured and being undersized. The waterfall on the river was already a big problem on his way. It wouldn't be proper to be powerless after crossing the waterfall. On the following days the surface of the lake suddenly got into action. The ships that the people made by putting together the pieces, which they brought to the lake shore by lorries, started to move constantly. The divers started dive from the ships and examined the bottom of the lake. The harpoons that were in the divers' hands would direct to the octopus as soon as it was seen. There was a huge octopus with 8 arms, each of whose length was nearly 5 meters, and the one who would kill this octopus would be rewarded. It was necessary to think now. This octopus, who was wanted to be killed, saved certainly 2 people's lives in a stormy weather. They had seen the octopus before they fainted and they informed the others too. There was even a reward. It is necessary to consider this situation as a labyrinth without an exit. The octopus had understood that it was impossible to live in the lake now. Although all his goodwill, the people wouldn't let him search some more in this lake. It was also unnecessary to live more in this lake. The things he learned were enough and more than enough. The octopus got out of his cave with rancor. He came with a terrible speed out to the water surface just opposite the ships being anchored in front of the camp. He was puffing up and was causing artificial waves on the lake as he was saying, "You have been looking for me for days, here I am and I'm not afraid of you." He suddenly directed to his left. He entered the branch by pulling the barbed wires at the exit of the lake to pieces under the amazed looks of the people on the shore, and he reached the river after a while. He came before the waterfall by withstanding easily to the river's stream, and he went up by holding his both arms out and by holding of the rocks there. On the following days the octopus continued the intensive efforts to reach the source of the river. He was passing in difficulty through the gorges at the sides of the mountain where the source existed, and he was moving forward step by step at the places where the depth didn't let him swim. The rain falling on the sides of the mountains was turning into snow because of the weather's getting gradually cold, and trembling in the ice-cold water under the snow was teaching him how difficult the life was in the mountains. When he started to think that it was impossible to go more forward, he found the source of the river. The source was coming out of rocks, it was coming out of a place like a cave, and it was appearing on the earth. The octopus summarized the topic. Now that the source had been here, it comes out to the earth from that narrow place, it is fed by the rain and snow water, it goes down till the waterfall by gathering some of the little river's water. After passing the waterfall, the water gathering a lot of branches from both sides gradually grows and it reaches the sea, where I was born, as a river and integrates with the sea. And the lake, where I lived for a long while, was nothing more than a drift of water, which let its superfluous water flow into the river by means of a branch. On his way back, while coming closer to the waterfall, the octopus started to think. He wondered if the people would wait for him there. It was a 50-50 possibility. Namely, they'd either wait or wouldn't wait. It wouldn't be definite. The octopus wasn't absolutely frightened. Anyway, fear was the last thing to be considered by an idealist in such a situation. There was no reason to be frightened. After the octopus evaluated the situation, considered what he would do after what might happen, he went down the waterfall. He went past the branch, which was connecting the lake to the river, by swimming bravely on the water. The octopus reached the sea a few days later. He had set off years ago for the sake of an ideal when he was a young octopus. After years, he had turned back as a mature octopus. However, the ideal still wasn't an ideal. An idealist should teach the others the things he learned and should acquaint them too. As well as you couldn't say you have enough knowledge for yourself so you wouldn't need to learn more, you couldn't also say you were more knowledgeable than the others. Let the others not learn the things I knew. After relaxing for a while, the octopus wanted to start his attempts. He would teach the others the things he learned and he would acquaint them too. Until there would be no other knowledge in his mind what he knew but the others didn't.